to pick a good watermelon. I love watermelon, it's one of my favorite fruits ever, and I hate it when I pick a bad one. So these are some tips for you to bring to your grocery store the next time you go to pick out a watermelon. So let's get into it. My first tip is to look for the field spot, and that is this spot right here. You want to make sure it is a yellow, kind of creamy color as opposed to a white color. If it has no field spot at all, then that means it's just not ripe yet, so you want to stay away from those. This means it's been laying down in the field for a little bit and it's had some time to ripen, and it's probably close to being good by the time it gets to your grocery store. The next thing you want to do is make sure you're getting a slightly duller watermelon. If it's super shiny, that means it's not ripe yet. So this is, I feel like, a good balance. It's not super shiny, but it's not so dull it's starting to look old. I like a crispier watermelon rather than an overripe watermelon, so for me, in my eyes, this is really, really a good watermelon to try. The next tip is to knock on it with your knuckles, and you're looking for a nice hard, firm surface, and you don't want like a dull thud or something that kind of is soft, because that means it's going to spoil. So that feels like my knuckles are almost bouncing off and it's nice and hard, so that's another indicator that this is a good watermelon. And regardless of what size watermelon you're getting, if you are finding a mini watermelon like this one, or if you're getting a giant watermelon, you want to make sure that you don't get the largest one in the bunch or the smallest one in the bunch. You want to pick the one that is just right, not too large, not too small, because those oftentimes are the sweetest watermelons. And this goes for all fruits, but especially for watermelon when you're picking it, you want to pick the heaviest watermelon of its size. So if all the watermelons that I were looking at were all this size, I would want to pick the one that's the heaviest, that has all the other tips as well, but that just means the water content is really high and you're going to get a lot of water in the fruit that you eat, which is what we want. We want juice, ripe watermelon when we bite into it. There's lots of different sizes of watermelons and shapes of watermelons. Sometimes they're oval, sometimes they're round. You just want to find a consistency of shape as well. You don't want any lumps or bumps. That either means it wasn't getting the right amount of sun all around or the right amount of water, or it could just mean that it's starting to spoil quickly. You can notice on honeydew melons, for example, really quickly when they're starting to head south because they get kind of lumpy. Same with cantaloupe. But this one is nice and round. I'd say it looks pretty darn good. And then the next thing you want to look for is the pollination points or the sugar spots. And something that is on this particular melon here are all these little brown spots, and these are either places where the sugar from the watermelon has started to seep out, or they're pollination points. And all these mean that it is really good and ready to eat. You want to make sure that this is all dried out. If the vine or a little stem, if there's some of the watermelons have a stem there, if it is still green and not dried out, that means the watermelon is not ready. I'm going to roll this little watermelon over so you can see this one still has a little bit of a stem left over, but it's nice and dried out. So that's another tip that you can look for in your watermelons. So those are my tips for picking out a good watermelon, but now you can have all the tips in the world. Let's actually taste it and see if they work. I'm going to show you how to cut a watermelon in a really easy way, and let's get into it. I am ready for this watermelon. So the first thing you want to do is cut the watermelon in half, and then you are going to work with one part of the half at a time. I'm going to first just kind of give myself a little something to anchor on by cutting just the top off. Obviously, we don't want to cut a lot of the actual watermelon off, so you want to make sure that you get in here, because basically what I'm going to do now is peel the sides. So I'm just going to come in and get off as much as possible. If there's extra white, it's all good. Actually, a lot of the vitamins are in the white pithy part of the watermelon, and you can always cut off more of the white if that's not what you like. You're just going to slice. And then just turn it and slice again, kind of like the same way you slice an onion. And then you're just going to stick a bowl over it. Preferably you want a bowl that is the same size as a watermelon. This is as close as I have. I'm going to take my cutting board, flip it over, there you go. All cut up and ready to eat. And then you can do the same thing with the other watermelon. Okay, so now we do the taste test. Very good. Those tips are really helpful. in really getting a good watermelon every time. So I hope you found this video helpful. I'm gonna go now because we are getting watermelon drips everywhere. Eli loves watermelon just as much as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week. You are a mess. Oh my goodness. See you guys next time. Bye.